getting snappy with my wife, my kids, struggling to keep all the plates spinning in the air at one time. Any one little thing could come and just knock them down. I went into levels of depression, that were really, really low points in my life. I was losing sleep at night, extreme weight gain, working all hours of the day. I was trying to keep it all balanced. It was horrible, right, dealing with this. I was trying to manage being the transaction coordinator, plus I had my flipping stuff I was doing and wholesaling, all these sorts of things at the same time. I was a one-man show. I quit my W-2 job where I was working 40 hours a week to make half as much money working 80 hours a week for myself. It's like, but I know that there's potential there. That's when I decided to do something.
Welcome, and thank you for joining us for today's episode of Disruptors, where millionaires are made. Today we have Matt Viebrock with acquisitionreps.com. And Matt flew in from Austin, Texas to talk about how to double your deal flow in 100 days or less. Guys, I'm on a mission to create 100 millionaires. The information on this show alone isn't enough to help you become a millionaire in the next 5 to 7 years. If you'll take consistent action, you will become one. And if you're already a millionaire, we want to recognize and highlight you on this show. Please scan that QR code on the screen so that we can highlight you here. If you're not there yet and you want some help, scan that same QR code and maybe we can help you get there a little bit faster. Before you jump in, if you're here to learn how real entrepreneurs are building real empires, make sure you hit that subscribe button because every week we're dropping lessons that can help you create your first or your next million. And right now, if you probably have about 100,000, 250,000, or even more sitting in your CRM, just hiding there. Resurrect all your old and dead leads with the objection-proof AI calling agent. We are now able to call through your CRM, text cash to the phone number 33777 now to unlock the money. That's just hanging out in your CRM. Again, that's cash 33777. Ready?
Yes, sir.
All right. So this is another episode that's been a long time coming. We've been talking about this for a very long time.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. Before we get into all that, what was your life like before you got into it?
Long story. So I'll start back at when I was 4 years old. I watched Top Gun for the first time at my grandparents' house, and I knew from that point I wanted to be a fighter pilot. So everything leading up to college was in preparation for that. And everything.
Like 4 years old to college.
4 years old to college. Like I knew, like I was laser focused on it. It's like, that's all I want to do is just go in the military, fly fighter jets for a living, and that was it. It was only when I got to about 16 is my aunt handed me a book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, just like everybody else pretty much. And I was lucky enough at 16, I had a backup plan, right? So I knew that if the military didn't work out for whatever reason, real estate was going to be my thing. I just didn't know how it was going to work, right?
Yeah.
He teaches a lot about the concepts, but not the how necessarily. So
fantastic what's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So fast forward, I'm in my senior year high school, and I got both a 4-year Air Force scholarship, so full ride, and one for the Navy as well. Chose to go the Air Force route. Did a year at Texas A&M University in the ROTC there, the Corps Cadets, and realized I absolutely hated the Air Force. No offense to anybody who's Air Force, it just wasn't for me.
It's like the day after Veterans Day.
I know, and I feel bad saying that. So, but all my friends were on the Navy Marine side. Mm-hmm. So anyway, and so I was like, this isn't for me. And I also had my first very serious girlfriend at that time, mm-hmm. and things were getting serious. And took the summer off, trying to figure out what I was going to do. And then she ended up getting pregnant. And that completely changed my whole trajectory and world with everything. Dropped out of school for, I think it was like a year and a half, 2 years while we're dealing with that situation. She unfortunately lost the baby, but, blessings in disguise, I guess. From there, I was just like floundering. I had no idea what
was the rude awakening that made you realize Air Force was not it? Because that's 12 years.
Yeah.
Good chunk of your life.
Yeah. It's you go in the first day you go in there, you're just like, you're getting screamed at, mm-hmm. in basic. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize I had a problem with authority. So
it wasn't the fact you're getting screamed at. It was the fact that you didn't realize you had a problem with being screamed at.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, so I didn't want to do the things that he told me to do. I was like, this is stupid. And I was like, how is this going to help me become a fighter pilot? And, the funny thing is, like, I knew all the things like I was going to be going through. So it wasn't like a big surprise or anything. It was just like, I was impatient, and I tried to be the Billy Badass and, try to be like the best guy in the group and stuff like that. But it was one of those things where I got in and it's like, you realize, okay, I thought I was the best, in high school and stuff like that. And I was in my top of my class um, and then you get around a whole bunch of other people who are also the best in their classes as well. And it's like, oh, you're not special. So it's like, how do you stand out? And I think I tried to stand out a little too much, and I got a pretty big target on my back, and I was, they pushed me over the edge, so to speak. So it just,
Wow.
when you are super gung ho, when you're in the military, or at least in training, you become kind of just a target, right? It's like they really want to test you, and for good reason, right? They had to break you down in order to rebuild you back up. But as they did that, I just got ostracized, from some of the group members and things like that. So, being somebody who, seeks, praise and attaboys, from the higher ups and stuff like that. When I stopped getting that, and all my buddies were essentially, just beating me down, just like, I was the lone wolf at that point. They didn't want to be around me because like I got so much of the attention from the upperclassmen. So, it just wasn't for me. Right.
Yeah.
So, big wake up call, and it sucked because I was like, well, there's a whole like 12 years of my life that I just kind of spent, almost wasted. It kind of felt like, and then I spiraled, I had drinking problems, and, I ended up having to live with my brother for a little while, him and his wife, and just because I was just lost. Right. And then I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna try this military thing one more time and try to go back.
To it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, maybe this time I'll try the Navy, because like I said, all my buddies that I had when I was in the Corps were just, Corps cadets. They were all on the Navy Marine side of the house, and so I was like, I like that better. And then I read a book about fighter pilot training, and in there was one line that says, you're going to be deployed for like 18 months at a time in some cases. And I knew I wanted to have a family at one point, and so I was like, man, is that something I really want to do? And they also said, in the training in the book, they were like, okay, look to your left, look to your right, and one of you is not going to be here by the end of the next 2 years. So training accidents were super high back in the day, for fighter pilot training.
Literally like dead.
Yeah, like dead.
Not like you're not going to make the program.
Yeah, yeah. And I was like, okay,
I went to ASU. It was like, hey,
Yeah.
your left, look to your right. One of you guys won't be at ASU anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, no, this was like, and in fact, they talked about it in the book, is like they had a training mishap and one of the planes went down, and it was just like, okay, it was an eye opener for me. And I was like, okay, we'll see if I want to do this. So I was in the pipeline to go into OCS for the Navy. And then I met my now wife, and she's like, I don't want to be a Navy wife. And I was like, okay. So that was it. So military is completely off the books for me at this point. So I really struggled with that, just because it felt like, okay, lifelong dream is just now completely gone. But it's like, okay, what am I going to do now? And so I was like, okay, well, real estate's that next thing. And so I had a small stint in the car business. Yeah, so that lasted about 7 months, and I absolutely hated it. I was a finance manager at a Ford dealership up in Lawrence, Kansas. And I actually moved up there after college to go be close to my grandfather. He was getting sick, and I didn't get to spend a lot of time with him growing up. So best 7 months of my life, and some of the worst, with the job. But spending time with him was awesome. But then my wife was like, hey, I'd love for you to move back, and so we could be together. So I moved in with her, and I went to go work for New Western Acquisitions. So
You were a New Western guy.
I was a New Western guy. Yeah.
Okay, so when was this?
This was 2011.
2011.
Yeah, 2011.
New Western. What market were you in?
I was in San Antonio.
Got it.
So yeah,
Okay.
I was driving from North Austin to downtown San Antonio 6 days a week,
How long was that drive?
95 miles one way.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I was the top sales guy within 3 months there. I was on the dispo side. I think I spent all my money that I'd made on commissions and gas, just getting back and forth. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, it was a great way to cut my teeth, on real estate and learning the wholesale side of the business. I mean, I'd recommend anybody who wants to get into it, go work for a company like New Western or Net Worth or something like that. So
Yeah. Okay.
it's huge.
So you worked in New Western. You were a top rep. doing dispo.
Yeah.
What did you learn from that experience?
Oh man, grit, big time. I mean, going out, you know, ass early in the morning, you know, on even a Saturday morning and going putting out, like we're talking 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, drive down there and go put out bandit signs to try and drive buyer leads, you know, was something. And I go usually put out 100 to 200 signs, you know, every Saturday. And then I'd have to go pick them back up, you know, on Sunday night kind of situation because of code enforcement. And God bless my wife, she's a trooper. She would go and do it with me sometimes. And so this is when we're still dating. But grit was a big one, and just speed to contract was a big one for me. We would literally, as soon as the acquisition guys would drop a new deal, all of us dispo guys, we would literally all jump in our cars, call our buyers while we're on the way to the property. And I would look at, like, there were fist fights happening in the front yard. Yeah, of guys like trying to fight over deals, these buyers. It was crazy. So
The buyers would fight.
the buyers would fight. Yeah.
So all you guys are trying to dispo the same property
Yep.
to all your buyers.
Yep.
And all the buyers will show up at the same time.
Yep. It all showed at the same time. And it was whoever was the first one to get the earnest money check and drive it to the office was the one who got the deal. It was crazy. It was like the Wild West, man.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do it like that anymore, but it was fun.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
So you said you were the top rep. I mean, how many deals were you doing?
I was doing 7 to 10 a month with them. So I was really big on building really good relationships with my buyers, you know, taking them out for coffee on a regular basis, meeting for lunch, and just trying to build the biggest buyers list that I possibly could. But I always had my core, you know, 10 buyers that I could always call upon, and they'd be like, yeah, I'll take it, sight unseen kind of situation. So that made it easy because then I didn't have to actually go run out there to the properties and watch the fist fights and stuff
They
like
get
that.
the earnest money faster.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like,
Gotcha.
here, just meet me at the office.
How long were you in New Western?
I did that for about a year, and then I was like, man, this driving back and forth is really tough. So obviously I had my realtor license at the time, and I knew some people who worked at Lifestyles Unlimited. I don't know if you're familiar with that company, but
I've heard of it.
yeah, they're based out of Houston, I think, maybe Dallas, I can't remember, but they're a real estate education company, and they primarily teach single family investing to, like, basically get 10 rentals, pay them down enough where you get like 100,000 in equity, and then chunk up into multifamily at this time. So this is when multifamily was really becoming a big thing back in like 2012, 2013 era. And so I got into that. I was their sole realtor for the Austin area. So it was nice. Like, I finally got to be able to work from home. I didn't have to drive all over the place. And I was sourcing deals for all their basically their clientele that they had. So
Gotcha.
and I quickly realized, I was like, man, I missed the wholesaling side of it because the checks were a lot bigger. And, you know, being a realtor, I was like, $85,000 houses, I'm making 3% on this. And the guy who just got done with it, he's like going to make 120,000 on it. I was like, something's wrong with this picture here.
But
So
you were sourcing the deals
I was sourcing the deals.
as a realtor.
Yeah.
You're only getting 3%.
Yeah.
Why the
Yeah.
heck were you doing that?
I don't know, man. I was young, dumb, stupid at that time. So yeah, I was like, we didn't really, I understood what hard money was, you know, back then. But I was like, I'm like, there's no reason why anybody would give a young, stupid kid like me, you know, a bunch of money to go buy these things. And I didn't have the confidence in myself, honestly, to go do it. I've always been one of those kinds of people. Is like, I like to be partnered up with somebody else to do it, and I'd not being like the solo, you know, lone wolf kind of guy, you know, when I do these sorts of things. So yeah, I never really took the leap when it came to going and buying them. And then the realization I had where I made a big mistake was a couple years later, when I think it was about 2022, when COVID happened, and just Austin prices skyrocketed.
Yeah.
And I drove by one of the houses and it was for sale. And I went and looked it up on the MLS because I still had my license at the time. And they were selling it for like $385,000 in Round Rock, Texas. And it was the same house that I had sold this guy for $85,000. He only put 30 into it. And I was just like, okay, I should have bought more, you know, which I think is what every investor says at some
Yes,
point.
absolutely.
So, yeah.
So 22, because I know there were like we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
There were things that there was. I'm looking at the notes here. I don't see anything here. Like, you were heavily involved, I believe, with Keller Williams at a time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then we were also talking about, like, I don't remember exactly when you got involved with Brewer Method. So
Yeah.
so
So
where does that all fit in here?
yeah, so from 2014 to 2022, I was really heavily with Keller Williams. I was realtor with them, but I primarily worked in the transaction manager world for the most part. So if you know Casey Smith at Atlas TC
Yep.
Services, I had a TC company very similar to hers, working with investors and with realtors. And so that's where the majority of my experience came from, was working as a TC and
Mhm.
owning a transaction coordination company for 8 years. So I had, I think in my height, I had like 5 or 6 TCs that were working underneath me, and
Mhm.
we were closing. Each one of them was doing 20, 30 deals a month pretty consistently. It was fun. I really enjoyed it, but man, the margins on these contracts were super small, and realtors
Smaller
are
than the realtor commission.
a lot smaller. Yeah, but you work in volume, right?
I know, but you
So
went from wholesale
yeah,
commissions to realtor commissions to
the
like
TC
to TC
commissions.
commissions,
Yeah,
and you're
yeah,
not even getting the full TC commission. You're getting just a sliver of the TC commission.
yeah, yeah. So, but I was making decent money back then
Yeah.
for doing that, for the amount of volume we were doing. Um, but I've always loved the operation side, and that's really what really got me into it. So, go back to lifestyles, like I was doing the realtor thing, and then I was like, okay, I'd really like to not have to. I hated showing houses. Like that was just, I was not a good realtor by any
Mhm.
means for that. So like I'll send deals over to people all the time, say, hey, take a look at it, go drive by it if you want. But it's like, I'm not gonna go put you in my car and drive you out there
Yeah,
kind of
that resonates with
situation.
me.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But I was like, okay, I need to slow down. I want to kind of work in an office maybe. And I was tired of working from home. So got hooked up with Tim Heil in Austin, Texas, and he's a mega agent with Keller Williams.
Mhm.
And I worked with him for a year, set up all of his operational systems, me and one other person in there. And he was at the end of the year, he was like, dude, you did such a good job with it. He's like, now I gotta go find somebody else who's cheaper than you to go run everything. So he's like, why don't you go start your own TC business? And so that's what I did. And
Yeah.
so from there, I was just doing wholesaling on the side, while I was doing the TC stuff, and that was my whole thing for 8 years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
How long were you working with Tim?
that was for a year.
For a year? Because I know
Yeah,
that's a big name.
yeah,
So
yeah.
all right. So
That
then,
was a phenomenal experience. And then after that, but I was still in that office,
Mhm.
with them, and I actually got to sit in on many meetings where Gary Keller was actually in the room teaching and holding court and everything, and that was cool.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got to learn a lot of cool stuff from a billionaire.
Yeah, I bet. So then, what happened after that? After you do the TC thing, what will happen next?
Yeah, so after that, trying to think, going back, that's when I was like, man, I really want to get back into doing real estate investing full time myself. And so
Mhm.
that's when Mike Borger and I partnered up. We had another partner at the time. I went through a spate of bad partnerships before landing on Mike.
Mhm.
And
Let's talk about this.
yeah,
I mean, not to
yeah,
like traumatize you, but lessons, right, for everyone else. Like
yeah,
I have this
yeah,
bad thing where like if I meet a couple, that's like
yeah,
recently divorced, like I'll talk to the guy. I was like, so what'd you learn?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
What lessons
yeah,
can I take from this so that
man,
I don't get divorced? Right? I meet like a happily married couple. Hey,
yeah,
what have you figured out?
yeah,
Right? So like I'm always
yeah.
curious. So like when I ask these questions,
Oh, yeah,
it's not to make
yeah.
you cry. Right?
No,
This is
no,
not
I
Oprah.
get it, I get
It's
it,
for
yeah.
everyone else that's watching.
Yeah. No, so I think I went through 4 or 5 partnerships, and it was always just like, hey, cool, you got something I need, and I've got something you need. I'm good at the operations, you're good at the sales. Let's do, let's work together,
Mhm.
and I didn't really understand, I guess, at the time, like how big of a deal it is to put your name on an LLC with somebody. And so it was too easy just to go open a $300 LLC
Mhm.
and sign a basic operating agreement. And we never planned out like who's going to do what roles and stuff like this and stuff. And so now it's like I will not partner with anybody probably ever again.
Mhm.
So it's just Tom Kroll, my coach, is like, yeah, you don't have it's like you have to get my permission before you want to partner with somebody for the next 10 years. So I
Yeah.
was like, okay, Tom. So I'll listen to him. But yeah, it was really, and I even went into business with my dad at one point too. And that business breakup was really hard. Because I was like, okay, I have all this knowledge about how to do, fix and flipping and wholesaling and creative finance and all these different things. So when I was buying houses myself, without him before, but then it was like, we could really supercharge this if I bring my dad in and he brings all this private money because he's a director at a mega church in Austin. And so he's like really well connected and stuff. So I thought, okay, cool. Let's partner up. Let's go do some business together. And I was like, I ended up doing all the work. And, he said he was going to do some stuff. And then, it was one of those things where it's like I always was the guy who was putting in more than anybody else,
Mhm.
and it's like, okay, the returns are very lopsided here, and it's just like it was never a fair arrangement. It's very difficult conversations that I have to have with people, just being like, hey, we just need to wrap this up and everything like that. But yeah, if I had to do it all over again, I would really date the person first, so to speak, for
Mhm.
at least probably 2, 3 years, working in some sort of JV type of arrangement before I'd ever partner up with them ever. So
Yeah.
yeah, just lots of bad experiences with that.
So date first, do deals together first.
Lots of deals together.
Lots of deals together
Yeah,
first.
yeah,
2 or 3 years sounds like a long time.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I dated my wife for 4 years before I proposed to her,
Oh,
so
for sure. That's a
yeah,
lifelong commitment.
it is a lifelong commitment. Yeah.
But yeah, on the partner side, I mean, what were besides misalignment or misunderstanding of like who's doing
Hmm.
what else were there? Because those are big ones. I think those are
Yeah,
common ones. But what else
yeah.
were things?
Personality styles, I mean, it was a big one. Like now knowing all about like predictive index and like the TA12, which we have all of our candidates take and
Mhm.
everything too. I wish I would have done that on all my partners because like we were complete polar opposites in so many ways. And like there's just a lot of different things that we clashed on that I wish I would have known about beforehand. And I probably just could have like anticipated it, I think, a
Yeah.
little bit more.
I don't think polar
Um,
opposites are terrible. Like, what do you mean by polar opposites?
um Actually, no. So the worst one, the worst arrangement I had was where I was an ops guy and I had another ops guy that I
Mhm.
was partnered up with. And I won't say his name, but I know you know who he is. But yeah, like we were both ops guys and it was just like pounding heads against each other to figure out like what do we want to do.
Mhm.
It was like trying to have two cooks in the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So when we did that, the sales weren't happening the way they should have either because we were too focused on the ops. And so it was just all lopsided.
Yeah,
Right.
because I was gonna say like I like it when there's two different personalities
Yeah.
because you have two high A, on the predictive index. You
Yeah.
have a venture and a maverick partner. Is like
Hmm.
who's gonna do the work?
Yeah.
Who's actually going to make sure things actually happen?
Right. It's like you need a strategist or somebody in there.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
you look at like RJ Bates and Cassie, right? Like they
Yeah.
work well together. I'm trying to think of some other like really good partnerships. Get Carlos and Sal. I know they got a really good thing going on. But like, for myself, like I was an individualist. I say was because I now test as a venturer.
Hmm.
Now test as an off the chart venturer. But I was
It doesn't surprise me.
so I was an individualist and my partner was a maverick,
Yeah.
right? And it works so long as our visions are in alignment.
Yeah.
But it's really easy for the vision to fall out of alignment when you have two alphas
Yeah.
on the same company.
Yeah. Yeah. That's something else you touched on too, is like not having the same vision, right?
Mhm.
This is part of the dating process too, is like what's your mission? What's your vision for the company? What are the core values that the two of you share? In a couple of the instances of the partnerships I had, we were so not aligned on core values at all. And so it's like when my partner would do something that just really pissed me off and be like, I would not be okay, with that if it was in my household.
Mhm.
So it's like, why am I putting up with this in my business? And eventually it got to the point where it's like I couldn't deal with it anymore. So yeah, I mean, that's a huge part of the dating
Yeah,
process, I would say.
got it. Okay, so multiple partners, and then you eventually partner with Mike.
Hmm.
And then what was that business like?
It was slow, but we were really focused mostly on rental properties more than anything else. And Mike was a big fix and flipper guy as well. So the margins we were trying to do, were 100, 150, I mean, six figures. Those are the types of flips we were going after. So we were very, very picky and selective about the deals we would go
Mhm.
after, trying to tie them up with creative financing. We had one deal, for instance, that it was a condo in Hawaii that we tied up with zero money down, type of situation. Got the seller to take all of his equity in second lien position. Brought in a first lien partner, private money lender who, I mean, so there was a $300,000 purchase, $60,000 that we borrowed for the renovations, and then we had a year that we didn't have to pay anything on the money, and
Mhm.
so we just kept trying to flip that money over and over and over again, kind of situation. So like those are the kinds of deals we were trying to put together. But because we were so picky with it, it was just like again, this is some of that misalignment that we had. Whereas like I wanted to go a little bit faster, he wants me to go a little bit slower, and
Mhm.
then he wanted to go midterm rentals, and I wanted to go back to wholesaling and wholetailing really more than anything else. And so, nothing wrong with that partnership. It was great. I love Mike to death, but we're still friends to this day.
I
But
don't have the discipline for we're not going to flip unless it's 100K.
oh yeah,
I just don't have that discipline. I
oh
would just
yeah,
get antsy, right? We have money in the bank. have partners or we have lenders that are lending us money. They're
Yeah.
expecting some sort of return.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I was also one of those that I always had like a separate side gig at all times too, or like a full-time job. So like I was working as a director of operations for a big real estate team at Compass.
mhm.
At the same time I was working with Mike. And so like it was still kind of a side gig for me. And so it's like if I'm going to take the time to do this, I really want to make sure that the returns are there, because
Yeah.
it was taking a lot of time to do both. And then ultimately what I realized is like you can't work for two masters. You got to pick one.
Mhm.
Right? Ultimately, it was just like, because if I'm working on two things, I can't even be 50% as good on both of them. Like I suck at both, right? So that's why I was like, I realized that was the big lesson I took away from working in
Mhm.
Brewer Method
Yeah.
was like I finally said, okay, I'm gonna go all in on working with Brewer Method with you and Eric, and like we grew that business and it did pretty decent, I think, for a education company, and
Mhm.
um, but that was all I did. I didn't do any more flipping, wholesaling, nothing during that time. I just solely focused on that.
Yeah.
So
So let's talk about that.
yeah.
So, Eric and I, we launched Brewer Method. I mean, it's
Okay.
all his IP, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
we launched it, I want to say August of 2020.
Yeah.
It was all his intellectual property, right?
Yeah.
That's the reason why we call it Brewer Method. Like I actually came up with the name,
Yeah.
right? He's like, yeah, I do novations. Like no one knows what novations means, right?
Yeah.
Everyone knows what it means today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like in 2020, no one knew what it was,
No.
right? So I was like, Eric, we can't call it innovations.
Yeah.
Terrible name. Let's just call it something else. Like you're calling it something that's just a legal term.
Yeah.
All right, let's call it something else. Like, what do you want to call it? I was like, I don't know, Brewer Method, right? Like, let's just throw your name on it and like, this
Yeah.
is what you do. And we did it and we launched it. And like, it kills me today. Like, there are so many people like teaching innovations, making money from innovations. Man, like, we're not getting anything at Brewer Method.
I know.
Right? Like, he was the one that brought it out
Yeah.
there. But anyway, that's besides the point. We launched it. You were one of the first people that bought it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Not only did you buy Brewer Method, but even before Brewer Method, you actually bought my sales training before that.
Yeah.
All right. So you're already like
Yeah.
in my ecosystem. You already bought the training, bought the Brewer Method, and then you came along and came up with a proposal.
Mm-hmm.
So what was that situation? If you're a real estate investor with a sales team and you're stuck babysitting reps instead of growing your business, this is for you. Right now, your reps are burning through your expensive leads like they're practice dummies. They're making costly mistakes you won't catch for weeks, and 70% of your potential revenue is walking to competitors because of inconsistent follow-up. That's why over 130 operators are now using objectionproof.ai to automatically review every single call within minutes, train reps with AI roleplay sessions, and never miss another follow-up. Stop watching your competitors pull ahead while you're trapped doing manager work. Click the link in the description and book a call with my team to see how we can help you install a self-managing sales team this week.
Yeah. So Mike and I both like we saw you guys' little thing on Kartra. I think is like one of the ads, and like, hey, clicked on it, and I was like, okay, this is cool. If Steve's involved, I want to be involved in. Let's see what he's got. So Mike and I were like, hey, you want to split the cost on this thing? Go in on 50-50. And we weren't partners at the time just yet. We were just good friends. So we did that. And then I started having some success doing novations just from it was $1,250 at the time. I still remember the price what you guys were charging for it. And so
that was the launch price.
that was the launch price. Yeah.
That was not the final price.
No,
that was the launch price.
No, it was not. Yeah. So it was $1,250. And I was in the 80/20 Investor Academy with it. Dan Schwartz had. And so I started having some success doing these novations. And I had multiple people approaching me inside of that mastermind. And they were just like, hey, can you teach me how to do this? And so I was like, yeah, sure. Not a problem. I was like, so I came up with this strategy. It's like, hey, let's do 3 deals together. And the first deal, I'll make 70-30 on it. The next one we'll do 60-40 in my favor. Last one's 50-50. And I'll give you, but you have to pay me $5K up front. And then once we do 3 deals together, I'll give you your $5K back. And so I had multiple people taking me up on this. And I was like, okay, there's an opportunity here. It was like, why doesn't Eric know about this? Why aren't they doing something like that? And so the proposal was I had just approached Eric one day and I was like, hey, this is what I've been doing. Have you ever thought of actually like turning this into like a real course, type of situation, not just like a webinar that you did one time and kind of teach the basics of it, like a real true on course. And I still remember this day, he was just like, damn it. He's like, I've been thinking about this for the last 10 years. He's like, I didn't want to be the one to actually have to do it. He's like, you want to be the who to my how. I was like, okay. So, and that's how that whole process started. So,
So, and I'm thinking about this, right? Because like we're talking about the partners and like getting, dating and getting it's not just throwing your names on an LLC, right? And I'm saying this because like we went through legal paperwork.
Oh yeah.
was very lengthy
Yeah.
legal paperwork.
Yeah. With an attorney that I chose. And yeah, I
Right.
remember. Yeah.
And I'm bringing this up because you're talking about like, at first it was just throwing names in an LLC.
Yeah.
But by the time you got to us,
Yeah.
it was not, let's just throw names in an LLC. It was like,
Yeah.
there's an attorney involved. Everything was like,
Yeah.
all the I's are dotted, all the T's are crossed, which is great. Like I had no
Yeah.
problems with it. It was just,
It was a lot.
that experience is different than what you were saying earlier. Of like, I just threw names in an LLC.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you got involved in Brewer Method and you worked it for some
Yeah.
time, right? Like
Yeah.
you did well with the Brewer Method. And then you went off to do,
So it was during the Brewer Method days where Eric was the face of it. Myself and Ben Montlocker, who I absolutely love Ben Mont, he's amazing. Best operational mind I think of anybody
Mhm.
I've ever met. And so he and I were doing a lot of the actual teaching aspects of it. And one of the things I kept noticing was like I was running all the Wednesday calls that we're doing. And we had usually 50, 60 people, sometimes 70 people at a time showing up for these calls. And it was hardly ever, anything about novations. It was always questions about some sort of operational issue that they were having or a sales issue or this person sucks that I brought on my team and what do I do with them now at this point? Or, hey, my marketing's not working,
Mm.
right? So it very quickly turned into more like, okay, this is way outside the scope of what we said we were going to do for novation training.
Mhm.
And so it's like, there's an opportunity here. And at the time, and Eric called it when we first got started, he's like, man, we've maybe got a year's worth of runway here before other people start picking up novations because it's just like wholesaling. Once somebody knows how to do it, everybody's going to like try and want to teach it, right?
Right.
So he was right about that. And we started to see you had like Rich Wonders coming in, Novation King and all that other kind of stuff. And a lot of good training around it, but it's like the message started to get diluted. And so I was like, I started to kind of see the writing on the wall. And I was like, okay. And I mean, Eric and I were still friends to this day, but we were butting heads again and like in two very different styles, right? And
Mhm.
I wanted to train it one way. He wanted to train it a different way.
What's your PI?
My PI, I'm definitely a strategist through and through.
A strategist?
Yeah.
All right.
So,
Okay.
yeah,
So
and
anyway, so you guys
Eric-
button heads.
yeah, we were butting heads a little bit. But I was just like, I see the writing on the wall. I think now is probably the best time to like kind of make a pivot. This is after we've been doing it for 2.5 years
Mhm.
at this point. So got it up towards about $1 million a year in sales. I think it was somewhere around there, about $1 million. Can't remember exactly, but I was like, okay, I'm going to take this idea that I've got around like operational training because I didn't see a need for it in the market, right? Or I saw a need for it in the market, but nobody else like really supplying it to the level that I was thinking it needed to be. Because I mean, I know you've got like Gary Harper and Gary and Susan Harper doing Sharper Business Solutions, and they do some great work. But the clients that I was talking to in Brewer Method really needed a lot more handholding than just EOS implementation and meet for quarterlies and like a once a week level 10. They needed somebody in the trenches with them, helping them, holding their hand essentially. And so that's how Let's Grow COO was born. And that's my fractional COO company that we have to this day. And that's one of our primary things that we do. And we just work with clients who are doing at least 250,000 a year. And they want to scale up to $1 million, 5 million, whatever it might be. But once you get past 5 million, that's when I'm going to say go work with somebody else who's a little bit more experienced, taking you to that 10 million type of level. But that's the majority of people in 6 to 7 figures.
So then I'm guessing part of the experience here. So your experience with Tim Heil, probably handy.
Yeah.
Your experience with Compass. Who was he said a top producer at Compass?
Yeah.
And then you got to see behind the scenes working with Ben Mont and Eric Brewer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all probably really relevant experience.
Very.
And you counseled a lot of people through it. So let's talk about then, like, why should someone get a fractional CEO? Because you kind of mentioned, right? Like Sharper, like I use Sharper. I love Gary. I love Susan. Amanda, like absolutely instrumental to my business.
Mm-hmm.
They're not a fractional COO. They're consultants.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you should do this. Hey, why aren't you doing this? Hey, that's stupid. Right?
Yeah.
They're really good at that.
Yeah. Well, let me level with you just for a second here. So the term fractional COO gets thrown around a lot in our industry. Like it's a big fancy word and stuff like that. Ultimately, it's just a glorified executive assistant is really what it is.
Okay.
Like, let's just call it what it is, right?
Yeah.
Like we're not talking 500, Fortune 500 companies or anything like that. I mean, we're working with 6 and 7 figure real estate investors. They just need a hand in their business to do the things, and they have blinders on in a lot of cases, and they don't know what they don't know. And so having seen all the different facets of single family residential, that world, that's where I was like, okay, I can actually come in there, hold their hand and do it. Where somebody needs a fractional COO is whenever I call it the chief everything officer, kind of bang your head against the wall and you're like at that point where you're about to be burned out, right? We joke on our team, we call it solopreneur burnout syndrome.
Mhm.
So it's like when you get to that point, you're just like ready to kind of throw in the towel. And it's like, man, I quit my W-2 job where I was working 40 hours a week to make half as much money working 80 hours a week for myself. It's like, but I know that there's potential there. That's when it's time to call somebody.
That's a thing, solopreneur burnout syndrome.
That's what we call it.
I don't think I've ever experienced that.
Because you always surrounded yourself with good people.
No, but even I think when I was my own and I was
Really?
numbskull,
Oh,
right, like doing stupid things is like, I don't know.
yeah. But I think your tolerance level for pain is I think pretty high. So
Because I think like one of the Jason Medley was on this podcast years ago, right? Founder of Collective Genius.
mhm.
And I remember asking this question: is like, what makes you different? Why do you win, right? Because he was a transactional lender, he was a short sale specialist, and then now he's got like the premier mastermind for wholesaling. I remember his answer was this: I'll just outsuffer you.
Yeah.
I'll outsuffer anyone. I was like, yeah, that resonates with me. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about like burnouts, it's like, what's burnout?
Yeah.
Okay, so describe
Yeah.
like for someone who's listening, like how do you know you've suffered solopreneur burnout syndrome?
Oh man, so many different ways. Well, for me, whenever I started to experience it, I was getting really snappy with my wife, and then my kids. I was struggling to keep all the plates spinning in the air at one time,
Mhm.
and any one little thing could come and just knock them down. And it would set me back. I went into levels of depression, that were really, really low points in my life. And this is kind of around the time that my son was being born. He's 7 now. So about 7 years ago, this was just like, it was horrible, right? Dealing with this. And it was like, I was trying to manage being the transaction coordinator. Plus I had my flipping stuff I was doing and wholesaling, all these sorts of things at the same time. I was a one-man show, right? And I was trying to just muddle my way through it and figure out what to do. But it's like, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I was too afraid to ask for help for fear of looking stupid.
Really?
Oh yeah, yeah. And um, now I know like that was just a form of weakness by
That
being
was the
afraid to
part
do
that
that.
was stupid.
Yeah, that part was very stupid. So
Well,
yeah.
I guess I have been very lucky, and I think maybe this is just being the oldest of six
Mhm.
boys in the family. I wouldn't say I'm an excellent delegator. I'm probably more at the time an abdicator,
Mhm.
grossly irresponsible in delegating. But like for me, even when I had a bigger team, or not bigger team, when I had a bigger operation on my own, like my thing always was I only partnered with competent people.
Yeah.
So like, if I had a loan officer, they only had to mess up twice before I would just find a new loan officer.
Mm.
If I had a title officer, they don't have to mess up twice. Like I just let them know, like, here's my expectation.
Mhm.
I'm gonna hand this file over to you. I don't want to hear anything until like we're clear to close.
Yeah. See, and I'm too nice. Like
Yeah.
I would give people way too many chances, and then eventually I would just they would take my kindness for weakness, and they'd walk all over me.
So I was a very patient and understanding person,
Yeah.
right, with clients and so on.
Yeah.
But for vendors,
Mm.
is like, this is your job.
Yeah.
This is what you get paid to do. So I expect you to do your job. This is why it was
Yeah.
for me the longest time having a hard time managing salespeople.
Mhm.
Because with a vendor,
Yeah.
they have to make me happy,
Yeah.
or they lose my business.
Yeah. Yeah.
Salespeople don't have that
Yeah.
same
Yeah.
mindset. So maybe I was just because of the you're right. Maybe I just surrounded myself with good people, but it was always really high expectation.
Yeah.
Like if I have to ask you for updates,
Yeah.
you're the wrong loan officer.
Well, and something else though, I think for me that really caused this was, and I know that I can't remember the name of the guy who was on your podcast recently was talking about it, the imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
as well. But that's a very real thing, I think, for a lot of the people that I deal with, especially on the fractional COO side. Hell, I even still deal with it to this day. Even when I walk into CG, sometimes I was like, "Why am I here?" Like some of the people are like way ahead of me in terms of
Yeah.
certain things. But then I have to remember to say, okay, if I can help one person, then it makes all the difference at that point. So, um, but it is a real thing, I think, with the imposter syndrome, as well as um, wanting. There's a lot of people pleasing, I think, that goes into it as well, and I think there's a lot of people who are that way, where it's like they just don't want to rock the boat. They don't want to make waves for fear of hurting somebody's feelings or getting ostracized, in the community. Because real estate's a small community. Like you piss somebody off, like you're going to hear about it from somebody else later on.
Mm.
So it's like, how do you kind of balance all that?
Yeah. So I'll go back to symptoms, right? So snapping with loved ones.
Yeah.
What else was there?
Oh, I was losing sleep at night like crazy. The other people that I know who have gone through this, extreme weight gain, extreme weight loss, is some of the other kinds of things too. Working all hours of the day and night, just burning the candle at both ends, just trying to keep all the plates, like I said, in the air. That was a big one. So,
Got it.
I was working at the worst, I was working 18, 20 hours a day, just trying to keep it all balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got it. So then, is this the same reason why people get stuck?
Huge. Yeah.
Okay. So talk about people that are stuck. They're 2 deals a month, 3 deals a month, can't quite pass that threshold.
Mm-hmm.
What's happening?
Yeah, usually it's a lot of different things, but I think it's because they think that the big thing I see a lot of times is they think that they can do it better than anybody else, right? In terms of talking to the sellers, pre-qualifying the leads, handling the marketing that's going out, making sure that the contracts are done properly, or working with the realtors and all those sorts of different things. And it's like they don't take the time to stop and just put everything on paper, like how you do things, and then delegate it off to somebody else, right? So that's a huge thing I see. What was the rest of the question that you had
Well, I
with that?
think so. Why they get stuck, and I think
Yeah.
it's funny, right? Like no one could do it better than me.
Mm-hmm.
Usually, it's pretty true in the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty true in the beginning, and like this is something that I took away from Darren Hardy's training like a long time ago.
Mhm.
It was Insane Productivity, still one of the best trainings I've gone through.
Yeah.
And one of the things he said was that, like you might be better than everybody, and it's because you're a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
And his point wasn't that you weren't better than people
Yeah.
at the job. Like you probably are actually really good at it,
Yeah.
but it's foolish to think there's nobody out there
Yeah.
that's better than you at this. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's the part that's like when you say it out loud, it's like, actually, does that even make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Right? You're probably
Yeah.
the best person in the company right now, but probably because you also didn't train them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, there's also a big fear of failure with it too, right? It's like you want everything just to be perfect. There's a lot of perfectionists in this business too. Not unless you're like a maverick or a venture.
Yeah, talk to me
like,
about that. I don't know that feeling.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're like me, like you're a strategist, like I was a perfectionist. I wanted all my contracts, the I's dotted, the T's crossed, everything had to be just right. And it just slowed me down with everything that I was trying to do. So the other thing is just not being willing to trust people and to like there's the old adage, trust but verify, and a lot of people think they forget about but the verify part, you know what I mean?
I've been guilty of that.
Yeah. So it's one thing to there's abdication, there's delegation, right? Abdication is you just willingly give up your responsibilities and just hope for the best, on whatever's going to happen. Delegation is like you inspect what you expect, right? And so that's one of the things that we teach. Putting the right KPI metrics in place and then regularly checking up on them and having the right meetings for that kind of stuff. But honestly, I think the big thing is just a big lack of knowledge, right? There's just a huge knowledge gap on, okay, what got me here certainly isn't going to get me there, but I don't know how to fill that span, right? And sometimes people are afraid to ask for help with that. And that's where, that was where I was at. I made that huge mistake and it really stalled my growth.
Yeah.
Not being willing to ask for help.
So how did you fix that?
I surrounded myself with people like you and other people. I got in masterminds. I really got comfortable with being uncomfortable and getting in different rooms where I wasn't the smartest person in the room. Because for the longest time, I thought I had to be the smartest person in the room. And that kind of goes back to my days, in high school and the Corps Cadets, is like I thought I had to be the best. And quickly you find out as you grow up, it's like, okay, well, you're probably not going to be the best. There's always somebody who's better than you anyway. So you might as well check your ego at the door and be willing to open yourself up. I can't remember what the exact verbiage was, but it's like, you can't do much when you can't shake somebody's hand when your fist is closed, right? But when you open it up and you open yourself up, you can get a lot of more things done, right?
Yeah.
And so I think when people finally open themselves up to making that happen, it's a lot easier to go from point A to point B much, much faster.
Well, I think the mastermind point is important,
Yeah.
because there's something that happens. Like we grow up our whole lives, and and what we believe is possible is limited to who we grew up with, right? Like our
Mhm.
parents, our aunts and uncles, our classmates, and this and that, right? Like
Mhm.
that's what's normal. It's it's greedy to want these things.
Mhm.
Uh, in order to be successful, you have to take advantage of other people, right?
Yeah.
There's all this self talk, and then you get into a mastermind. It's like that guy's not smarter than me.
Yeah.
He's ethical,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. How's
He's
how's this C or D, person who's making C's and D's in high school and I made straight A's?
yeah,
How are they doing all this stuff, and like they're no smarter than me. In fact, they're probably less smart than me
yeah,
and they're like crushing it right now.
yeah. So that is the first time where like your brain accepts that there's more possible,
Yeah.
and it has nothing to do with your intelligence.
Nothing at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
And that's where you really start to understand too is like 1 plus 1 truly can't equal 3.
right.
Yeah, it's the compound effect, and I think that's ultimately, it's cliche, I know, but your network is your net worth.
Hmm.
But man, I tell you, getting in the right rooms with the right people and rubbing shoulders with people who are doing way more than you are, but you can still see that they're grounded and they're awesome human beings.
Hmm.
Like everybody puts their pants on the same way every day is kind of
Right.
what I have to remind my kids. It's like don't treat anybody else differently than how you treat, your brother or sister, whoever, right?
Yeah.
So, and that makes a huge difference.
Or maybe treat your brothers and sisters like the way you treat other people.
Yeah, yeah, that too.
But like we're talking about predictive
Yeah,
index, so we haven't really spent a lot of time explaining it. So people that
yeah.
are newer to the episode, like or new to the show, what is predictive index?
So predictive index, there's two parts to it. As well, when we're hiring people, we always put them through it, and also when we're evaluating our team, it's an assessment. It assesses your behavioral aspects and tendencies as well as your cognitive aspects. So it's not an IQ test, right? But it tells me how quickly somebody's going to pick something up. Because the last thing I want to have whenever I bring a new person on board is like don't want them asking me over and over again how to do the same thing
Hmm.
2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? So there's certain profiles for different jobs that the predictive index has done a great job figuring out, where somebody's going to fit at in the organization. So I don't. They took away a lot of me having to do that homework. They did it for me essentially. So I run people through the predictive index behavioral assessment. I give them the cognitive assessment, and I can very quickly tell, okay, who's going to be a good fit in my organization, who's not. At its core, that's really what it is.
And you say you're a strategist, so what does that mean?
Oh gosh. So I'm not a PI expert when it comes to knowing all like the A, B, C, D, all that kind of stuff, but I am very precise. But I can also be social. So I'm a little bit of a uh, ambivert, if you will,
Hmm.
right? So I can be both extrovert and introverted
Hmm.
in certain situations. But I'm very precise. I can be social, but I'm also extremely driving,
Hmm.
right? So, and if you look at like the disc profile as well, I'm a high D, high C. So I'm very direct, but I'm also very cautious with the rules and wanting to make sure all the I's are dotted and T's are crossed. It's a
Yeah,
really weird thing.
it is. So so for people that are watching the show, right? You look at people that have been on the show. So Jason Medley,
Yep.
strategist, Frank Cava, Stephanie Betters, Amanda Dean. Right? These are all strategists on the show. My wife is a strategist. And so what does that mean? Like for her, I've said this to her, like she wants it done her way right now, which is also the right way, right? There's no other way. Very demanding, right? And then so like I've said, like I'm an individualist venturer, which means like I want to do it my way, and I have no desire for social approval. And good enough is good enough, right? It doesn't have to be exact. It doesn't even have to be great. It just has to not be awful. That's the standard, right? And so when you guys are hearing us talking about this, or Mavericks, right? And if we're talking about Mavericks, basically like everyone else on the show has been a Maverick. And then one thing that I heard you say is like hiring a closer is not this magic pill that everyone thinks it is.
The like what I've come to learn is that A players only want to work for A players,
Mhm.
right? And everybody talks about, oh, I want an A player closer in my organization. Most organizations are not ready for an A player because the A players that I've worked with are literally making $300,000 to $500,000 a year in acquisitions, closing crazy amounts and putting up huge numbers, right? I mean, we're talking the Kobe Bryants, of real estate. So you can't drop a Kobe Bryant into a really crappy, NBA team and then
Mm.
just expect them to turn things around immediately. It's going to take a lot of work, and it's an outsized amount of work that they have to put in or get things turned around. Eventually, they're going to get burned out. They're going to want to go work for somebody else, right?
Yeah.
And so, what we've seen is that it's better to fix the operations first before you drop that A player in, because if you drop an A player into chaos, I mean, you're just gonna have more chaos.
Hmm.
Is really what we found. You know?
Yeah.
So that's why, anytime we're working with somebody, it's really important that we kind of do a business tune up with them, kind of get things back on track to where, like take the blinders off of, what of that knowledge gap of not knowing like what needs to be fixed in order to make sure that I can actually handle an A player. Right. So that's where we start.
So then, how do I know when I'm ready for an A player?
That's a good question. Um, when you got your financials dialed in, I mean, financials is the first thing I always start
Is
with.
it? Because like that's like the most allergic part
I,
of
I
most real
know,
estate investors.
I know, I know. But like, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna pick apart your P&L and your
Mm.
balance sheet, and I'm gonna really figure out, okay, where are the holes in here, right? Because you got to get really strategic about, how am I one going to be able to afford an A player? Because an A player is going to expect a lot of leads, right?
Mm.
And leads are expensive, right?
Yeah.
So that's sort of why I start with that first. From there, I like to break down where are you spending your time as the owner in the business. That's something else that's huge. So we do what's called a freedom focuser exercise with every single one of the clients that we work with. You ever read Dan Martell's book Buy Back Your Time or heard of it before?
Mhm.
It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So it's basically an exercise where we do that, where we do, and it sucks. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. You're tracking exactly what you're doing every single 15 minutes from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, and you're doing it for 2 weeks.
Mhm.
It's a lot of work, right? But then when we go through it, we can really start to see, okay, where are you actually spending your time? And then we divvy up your time based on not just like what the dollar per hour value is to the company, but then also like an energy audit. And energy is super important with what we do, because like if you don't want to get burned out, you got to make sure you're doing the things that you absolutely are like kind of in your genius zone, if you will. But if it's things that you don't like to do, then it's like, let's get those off your plate. If not now, but at least let's kind of have a plan for it, right?
Mm.
And so very quickly we can see, where that time is being spent. And one of the things we're looking for too is like what we call a buyback rate with that. So we take, here's a dollar per hour value for all of those sorts of all these tasks that you were doing. We get rid of all the stuff that you need to delegate off to somebody else. And typically what we call your buyback rate, essentially it's the dollar per hour value that you could be paying to somebody else to be doing all these other tasks, right?
Mm.
And I'm usually looking like for a 5x return on what those tasks were and versus, or basically 5x return. So I want to pay 20% of whatever my dollar per hour value is. That's what I can afford to pay somebody else, right? So if I can do that, then my value, dollar per hour value actually goes up, and the amount of time I have to work in the business usually goes down, which means that now I can put more of my time into higher value activities to grow the company, right? So, or just to have the lifestyle that I was looking for, you know,
So
most of us get into that just for a lifestyle business.
let me play contrarian here,
Yeah.
and maybe I'm just arguing out of selfishness.
Okay.
I've never once been able to finish that exercise of every 15 minutes.
I,
Not once.
I get it.
I've tried multiple
Sucks.
times, but I went through Strategic Coach
Mm-hmm.
with Dan Sullivan.
Yep.
Are you familiar with that program?
Yep.
And then he's been like the brains behind, like 10x is better than 2x, the gap in the gain, and what was the other one that's a really big one? Shoot, Who Not How,
We not how. Yeah.
right? So like
Yep.
he was the brains behind those books, right? Like
Mhm.
Dr. Ben Hardy wrote the books, but
Yeah.
Dan Sullivan was the brain. So I went through his program back in 2019,
Mm-hmm.
and it was helpful. And the exercise I liked from him was much more preferable, which was you had 4 different categories. You had unique ability, right, which is your
Mhm.
genius zone activity. Yeah, excellent. This is stuff you're really good at and people will pay you for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, competent, which is like you do it, but no one's gonna hire you for it.
Mm-hmm.
And you got incompetent, which is like you just suck at this.
Yeah.
Or you either suck at it or it just drains your battery.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And basically what it was is like you sit down for 15 minutes and you just think about everything you do at your company. In a day, in a week, in a
Yeah.
month, a year, and you just fill it all out,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you do that, and then you're gonna have like, oh, I also do this, and then you just update the list, right? Because it's
Yeah.
not like you have a 15-minute assessment, a test,
Mm-hmm.
you have to turn it in, right? That's what I like about it. So like you
Yeah.
can just keep updating it.
Yeah.
I found that one. Maybe I'm just lazy, but I found that exercise to be a lot more helpful. I think at least for like bang for the buck, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bang for the effort. Like
Yeah.
it didn't take more than half an hour to actually document everything I do
Yeah.
at the
I
company.
actually run a challenge, like a 5-day challenge with people.
Mm,
And that's what we do instead of like the full on 2 week,
mm,
thing. But like when we're working with fractional COO clients, and honestly, by the time you get to like day 3 or 4, most of the time you're just gonna be like, okay, screw it. I know exactly all the places where I'm screwing up anyway. And
yeah.
it's like, okay, now I'm creating my delegation list of all the things I need to hand off to like an executive assistant or something like that. So, um, honestly, you asked like, how do I know when it's time for me to hire an A player? Is like when you're overworked and you've got too many things going on, but you're doing at least, let's say, 250,000 a year in your business, and you're like, okay, I can see a path for us to really scale this up.
Mm,
Your first hire, I would actually argue, should probably be an executive assistant, not a salesperson
mhm.
in most cases. I don't care if that's like a virtual assistant in the Philippines or something like that, but you got to get somebody to take off all these little things off your plate that are just way below, your your pay grade is just way too high for doing some of these things, right?
Yeah.
So I would say anything that involves a computer, admin wise, get it off your plate. Like give that to somebody else, free up all that time, and then go do more sales and stay in, with acquisitions. From there, once you've got more leads coming in than you can handle, and you're still closing now 2, 3 a month consistently. Now it's like, okay, now let's look at maybe bringing on a closer at that point.
Right. And I think probably just in the spirit of where everything's going right now,
Mhm.
is getting AI involved
Oh
to
yeah,
do
yeah, in
all
a
this,
big way.
to do a lot of this work as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you found any AI tools you really like for this?
Oh my gosh. So of course yours. I mean, we're like I signed up for yours and it's been absolutely huge.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I mean we're using it as part of our interview process with candidates or our hiring acquisitions. So we do a first round interview. I want to check and see, okay, do they get it, want it, have the capacity of the job. Before I ever meet with them to do a second round interview to like really test their sales skills, I have them do a mock call with your AI bot.
Hmm.
And it's phenomenal, like how they do. And it's like you have to pass at least a 70 or more to even get a second round interview with me. And
Okay.
like, I don't know if that's good or not. I mean, I'm still learning your system,
No,
but
70 is like, okay, they have some chops.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's
That's the
kind of
thing.
my thought.
Do you have instincts?
Yeah, you got instincts. Like I can work with that. Like we
Yeah.
can really take this to the next level if that's the case. And then, but yeah, it's been huge. And
Mm,
I honestly think that I think the next 3 years are going to be a really big tidewater moment for the real estate industry, especially for investing. I think wholesaling is going to be, I don't know about outlawed, but certainly regulated almost out of existence to
mhm.
some degree. And I think AI is really going to start to take more and more of the different jobs that are inside of a real estate investing
Yeah.
company as it is. Lead manager is the first one that's they're going to go in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
So, and
That's
yeah,
for better or for worse.
yeah,
That's what
yeah.
I'm working on.
Well, I mean, I've seen at least in my business, and because I still have a small wholesaling team, I've seen in my business and in the businesses of our clients that the AI does better than human lead manager
Mhm.
in a lot of cases. So
Yeah.
the conversations are better, cleaner, and I don't care what anybody says. Like we've seen the data to say that okay, sellers have no problem talking to an AI
Mm,
bot. Like they really
yeah.
don't. In fact, in some cases, they prefer to talk to the AI versus
Yeah.
a human.
Yeah, I know. It's funny to hear that argument, right? They're like, oh, they'll never talk to an AI bot. But then,
Yeah.
like, if you think about like when you call in for a prescription update,
Mhm.
would you rather talk to somebody or would you rather like just refill my update?
Just refill it. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to talk to a person.
Yeah.
Like, if talking to a person is going to take me longer, I'd rather just talk to a machine.
100%.
Or the other thought experiment I had with somebody, because I don't know, I'm this person that's just pushing this dystopian future, right? This really dark future. This is Black Mirror.
Terminator style. Right?
Yeah, but like I was talking to him, it's like, oh, but you will never replace like a Starbucks barista, not because like you can't
Mm.
replace the labor part, but like people
Oh,
want the
no.
human interaction, right? That was his part. It's like, well, people like the cheery college aged employee to, be whatever. And I asked him like, well, if that person was connected to Neuralink, would you still feel that way? It's like, I guess if they're connected to Neuralink, I still want that first. I was like, okay. So then if you take like a robot that looks like a human, like where are we at? He's like, I don't know.
Did you see that new humanoid robot that came out recently?
The
Like
X-Plane
clean,
Iron? I haven't looked at it yet. I saw like
it's like
pictures of
$20,000. Will fold your laundry
the
and all that kind
Neo.
of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to go pre-order that.
Oh, you did?
I went to go pre-order it.
Oh my gosh.
And what stopped me was that I have to agree to let them access all the video recordings in my house,
Okay, no, thank you.
right? Just to
Yeah,
show like
no.
they know what they're doing, like the
No.
opening the fridge, fold, like food prep was really what I need, right? So like
Mm.
the food prep, the laundry, the landscaping, the pool. But in order to have that, they require to send it back.
Yeah.
So I'm not signing up for that.
No, I'm not doing that either.
So we'll see where the Optimus lands, whether they require
Mm-hmm.
transmission back to Elon. Because like I love Elon, like I think the guy's amazing,
Yeah.
but I don't want him to have access to video footage inside my household.
No, I don't either.
So
Yeah.
if we can have a closed network, Optimus,
Yeah.
we're good.
Yeah.
But this thing, like we're gonna stream your house to some other place nearby, or not nearby, some other place across the country, probably in Austin, Texas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need that right now.
Yeah. We're already starting to see crazy stuff popping up around Austin and like this kind of thing. It's crazy.
Yeah. So I want to ask you another question here.
Yeah.
You go through their P&L and their books. Is that before or after they hire you?
Hey, my name is Brian. I'm a real estate investor. Ian's sales training has helped me buy more houses at a deeper discount. Most recently, Ian helped me reframe a question which resulted in me buying a house for less money than other offers the seller had on the table. If you're considering sales training, I don't think you can go wrong with Ian's.
If you like what you just heard and would like similar types of success, text CLOSE to 33777 and we'll see if you qualify to join Objection-Proof Selling. We're taking good sales reps and we're making them objection-proof.
That's after they hire me.
Because I was going to say, if it was a condition for hiring,
No.
you would never get hired.
No, it's after they hire us. No, I'm really looking for where can we be more defensive with the money? And it's amazing how often I see like people have multiple subscriptions for very similar things. And it's like, dude, you're spending $150 a month here, $90 a month here on stuff that's very similar. It's like, can we just pick one or the other, right? Like what's going to move the needle the most? And I'm a huge proponent of like the Pareto principle, the 80-20 principle. It's like, what's the 20% that's going to move the needle 80% more is kind of how I look at it. And so that's what we're looking at through that lens when I'm going through the books with somebody. So, and I'm not the one doing it anymore. I've got other people on my team who are much better at it than me. But the goal is like, let's try and get defensive because I mean, we're also in a really tough market right now. And man, it's just like the expenses just blow over and it's like, it makes things so much harder, but it's like, if you can sleep a little bit better now, it's like, okay, I'm running a lean, mean team here. Then it's like, now we can try to scale up from there.
Yeah. So, part of then hiring Let's Grow COO or acquisitionreps.com is you would come in and actually review the books with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's huge because if there's one thing we don't want to do as business owners is actually touch the books.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I'm not going to
well.
fix the books for you, but I'm going to look at it and be like, oh, you need to hire, Beck CFO or something like that, or Simple CFO to come in and kind of clean up this stuff for you. But it's just having a separate set of eyes. And I think that's where, us as fractional COOs, we can come in and we can look at it from that lens of what we've seen work in other businesses. And like I said, most operators focus like a racehorse. They just got the blinders on. They know exactly where they want to go, but then they get off course and they're just like, man, and then they run into the wall and it's like, okay, what happens now? They don't know what to do. And so that's where we're there to kind of be that jockey to kind of keep them on course.
So for someone listening, let's just more distinctly describe what is it exactly I get if I hire acquisitionreps.com.
Yeah, so acquisitionreps.com is another arm of Let's Grow COO. So with acquisitionreps.com, are you familiar with closers.io? Heard of it before?
Is that Cole's?
That's Cole Gordon's
Yeah,
company.
yeah.
Very similar to that. It's just we're solely focused on the acquisition rep side of things. So the big thing with what we do is like we're all about we're going to training or finding somebody, training them, placing them, and holding them accountable to hitting their metrics, at least for the first 90 days.
Mhm.
So when you hire acquisitionreps.com, here, let me back up. One of the things that we noticed in the fractional COO consulting that we were doing, and we were also placing reps with people as well, but we noticed that you can't have sales without ops. Both of them have to go together, right?
Yeah.
And so we were running the operations side, but then people were asking for sales help. And so it's like, we got to marry the two somehow. That's how acquisitionreps.com was born. So the way that we help with the ops side first, kind of going back to what I was mentioning at the beginning, is like you have to clean up the operations first. We do a full business tune-up. What that looks like, it's 12 hours. We're sitting down with a fractional COO. We're picking apart, like I said, what are the KPIs that you need to be hitting based on what are your net profit goals you're looking at, right? Not revenue. Revenue is one of those vanity metrics, that
Is it?
everybody talks about, right? It's like, no, what do you want to actually put in your pocket at the end of the day? And let's work the numbers backwards from there to find out, okay, how many acquisition agents do you need? What does the team need to look like? What does the full org chart need to look like? How many, what does your mailing budget need to look like? All this kind of, your marketing budget, all those different things. And we look at it through the lens of profit first as well, right? So Profit First for Real Estate, David Richter's book, fantastic. If you guys haven't read it, it's awesome. But looking at it through that lens, now we can say, okay, this is where I want to go. Now I have to make sure that I have the right message behind me so that I can attract the right people, right? That's the other thing too. So we're really big on working on what's your mission, for your business and the vision for it, where you want it to go. What are your core values? Make sure that everybody can be in alignment around those things. Because if you can't hire and fire to your core values, especially, then you don't really have a business as far as I'm concerned. Because it makes it really tough to attract those A players as well. So we really go through those. Then we do what we call the Freedom Focuser exercise that we were just talking about, with tracking your time, creating that delegation list. Ideally, we're going to go hire an executive assistant before we ever bring on an acquisition agent. Get a lot of that stuff off your plate, because now if I can have the owners in most cases are usually mavericks as well. And so they're usually pretty good at sales in a lot of cases. So if we can have the owner doing sales and an acquisition agent doing sales, now we can double the sales in 100 days from the time we bring on a new acquisition agent.
Got it.
Right? That's how we do it.
Got it.
Yeah.
So that's how we're able to double your deal flow in 100 days. Is more or less free up the business owner to do the highest revenue driving activities versus the
Bingo.
sitting in the books,
That's it.
messing around with the marketing,
Yep.
talking to the vendors.
Yep. All that. Yep.
Got it.
Yeah. And that's another big part of what we do with it too, is we do what we call growth audits. A growth audit is going to be where we come in and we do, for an hour at a time, we're going to look for an hour ad, your HR, what's your marketing look like? What's your marketing ROAS, your return on ad spend look like? If you're not tracking that, we're going to put those different things in place for you. Look at all your KPIs. Like, are you actually tracking KPIs? And it's amazing to me still how people are not tracking numbers. And it's like, if you're not tracking your numbers, you don't have a business. You have a high paying hobby, as far as I'm concerned. So looking at, like I said, the finances as well. And then for operationally speaking, it's like, who's handling all the different little pieces of the business? And then we come in and do a full sales audit as well. So that's where we sit down. We're going to actually look through the CRM and we're going to say, okay, where are the leaky buckets in your CRM where leads are kind of falling through the cracks? What does your compensation structure look like for your acquisition agents as well? Because the other thing too that I think is a big thing that irks me a lot, and right now I'm going to be kind of contrarian here for a second, but 1099 kind of independent contractors, everybody wants to hire somebody without having to pay them a living wage right now. And I think especially in this economy, you're going to have a really, really hard time attracting good people without some sort of base, because it's just hard to get by, And so at least creating some sort of structure where, even if it's like $2-3 a month, at least initially for the first 90 days to kind of get them up and running, let them build up their pipeline, and then maybe going down to like minimum wage to draw against commission, something like that. But that way you at least have them as a W-2 employee as well, right? Yeah. Because the other thing with 1099, you can't control what hours do they work. You can't control, do they wear a uniform? what CRM are they working in? How do they work the CRM? As soon as you give somebody an email address for your company, by law, they're a de facto employee, right? And so we had instances in the past where acquisition agents would leave a company and then they'd try to go claim unemployment, right? And that's a fun conversation with the state that you're having to deal with as well. So
no, that's the risk.
yeah,
Every time you hire someone as a 1099, just know that
yeah,
this next person you hire, when things go south, commission disagreement, is a risk to go to the state unemployment office.
Yeah, exactly.
Every single one.
Yeah, it's not a fun conversation.
Right. So like every one that you go through,
yeah,
your odds of getting a conversation from the unemployment office, because they don't just come after you for that one; they come after you for every single one prior.
Yep. They do a full audit, and it's not fun at all.
Chris Jefferson,
I know,
went through that scenario.
Yep.
That was just awful.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about so that's Let's Grow COO. So okay, so going back then, how does it work then, acquisition reps?
Yeah, so that's what we do with the business tune-up at the very beginning, right? All those things, the growth audits, the reviewing the P&Ls, all that kind of stuff. That's part one, right? So that's part one. Part two is we're going to go in and we're actually going to start sourcing talent, try and find those A players. And so our interview process is really specific. And I can tell everybody here for if you want to do it on your own, even if you don't want to hire me, go through a very structured interview process. And we have a scorecard we do it for as well. So we have, and I'm happy to give this to your audience as well, with our candidate scorecard, but they have to go through a screening process first. And the very first thing we have them do is we have them take predictive index, right? I'm looking for mavericks, captains, persuaders, and promoters, right? In that order, right? Mavericks and captains first, promoters and persuaders. Sometimes I'll do a venturer and strategist, surprisingly, are kind of like those secret ninja agents who can really do a really good job, but they get burned out kind of quick. So
they're good. They can be very serviceable, but their upside's not there.
No. Yeah, I know. So that's why I'm it really depends on the person, right? And what kind of experience they have. But so PIs first, they got to pass behavioral and the cognitive portion. I'm usually shooting for 250 on the cog, which is a little bit higher than what other people might say. But because I want somebody who's going to pick things up really fast. I don't want.
Struggled with sub 250.
I know. That's why I don't do it anymore. I was doing 180 to 220 before. Oof. Yeah, no, 180 was really bad. So I was I learned my lesson with that one. So, but we were doing 220, and then I was even 220 we were struggling with, and it's let's just up it a little bit. And now, something I tell people a lot of times is we're not looking for the best of who applied. We're looking for the best, right? That's what looking for an A player is. So it may take 3-4 months before you really find that true A player. And you're going to have to sift through a lot of dirt right before you find that gold. So just get ready for it when you do that. So that's, the first part of the screening process. I'm also looking for, do they have, 5+ years of sales, B2C sales experience, which is really important. I don't want anybody who has any real estate experience whatsoever.
All your sales experience, but no real estate experience.
No real estate experience whatsoever.
Interesting.
Yeah. We've had nothing but problems with realtors who come in, anybody who has a real estate license, mortgage loan officer license, things like that.
What kinds of problems?
Oh my God. They think they think that they know better than you with just about everything. And they think that are
you saying realtors lack humility?
Yeah. I mean, I can say that having been a realtor as well. So yes, absolutely.
For the record, I'm a realtor as well.
Yeah.
Licensed. So, what do I do with it? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm licensed. I don't use it anymore. But yeah, they just come with bad habits that we have to train out of them in a lot of cases. And so it's not worth the hassle. And from what we've seen anyway. And then I find a lot of times, surprisingly, the best reps I've ever had were former police officers, firefighters, and former military NCOs, non-commissioned officers, because they're dealing with the same type of demographic that most that we're trying to go after as wholesalers and investors, right? Yeah. Distressed types of people who are in really crappy situations. They know how to do, risk mitigation, conflict resolution, all that kind of stuff. And they're really good at talking people down, right? While also being assertive enough to kind of move the conversation along well enough too. So we do that. Also, a lot of door-to-door sales. I love Mormons, and Mormons are the best.
They are.
Yeah.
It's not fair. They really have an unfair advantage.
They really do. They really do.
Yeah.
Solar sales guys, that kind of stuff too. And also car sales. Those are the kind of the big ones, I would say, what we're looking for. And then I want to see that they haven't had more than 2 jobs in the last 3 years. So I want to see that they're going to be able to stick with it at least. So that's our screening process alone right there. If they pass all of that, then they get invited to do a first round interview with somebody on my team.
That's just a filter.
That's just the filter. Yeah.
That's
just
not the
filter.
hiring criteria. That's just the filter. Okay.
That's just the filter. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Intense.
Yeah, it is very intense. So first round interview, and they have to pass 80% or higher at every level before they move on to get another interview. So it's a lot. So like I said, maybe 5% actually make it to the final round interview with one of our clients. So first round interview, I want to test do they get it, want it, have the capacity to do the job. Basic things like did they even look at the job ad? Is one of those things. What's their understanding of how all this works? And just asking questions of how did they do in their last roles. I'm also looking for a lot of past issues with other employers too. So that's just a very kind of basic first round interview. There's nothing super crazy about it. But then after that, that's when we send them the TA12 assessment from Team Architects to take. And it's not a pass fail for us. This is just, I want to see, okay, what jobs are they actually going to fit inside of a real estate organization? Because they might not be great for acquisitions, but they might be great for dispo, right? Or they might be good as a executive assistant, a sales trainer, TC, I don't know, right? You really don't know those things until you kind of look at those profiles. We have them do a listening test through the Oxford University has a listening test that we do too. And they have to score at least, I think, a 90 on that because acquisitions is all about listening to people, right? And you do less talking, more listening. And so I want to see like what's their grasp of the English language as well if we're going to do that. They pass those, mock sales call with your AI bot, with objection-proof AI. It's a game changer, and that's where we lose a lot of people. So we just do.
Yeah.
But it really is a good gauge of whether or not they can actually hang with it. Now I send them your script before they actually get on.
Oh, okay.
So I send them the script. I say, okay, here's, Linda Johnson, right? The widowed homeowner, is behind on payments, and this is the scenario, kind of be ready for it. But that's all they get. And it's like, now go at it. And then if they pass that, now we move on to the second round interview. And I'm going to that's where I actually get on them with them right now. And I grill them on previous sales ability, like what's their CRM hygiene like, all different kinds of questions around sales. If they pass through me at that point, or whoever's conducting that interview, now it's like, okay, we've done everything we possibly can. And now that's when I'm going to send it on to the client to take a look at. And we put a full packet together, send it over to them and say, okay, this is who we think is a good fit for you. Honestly, in a 90-day period, they may get 3 to 5 candidates that are like really top notch that we found, if maybe that much. Sometimes it's like 2 or 3, right? But that's what they're paying us to do, is to really vet these people. Third round is we sit down with them and we do a culture fit interview. And so I call this getting the book. So if you're familiar with Keller Williams, like how their hiring process works as well.
What's their book on hiring?
We just call it getting the book on this person. Like, what's your operating system, this candidate's operating system? So, and like, I want to know if for instance, like if I have, some, negative feedback that I need to bring to you, how do you want me to handle that with you? Little things like that. So like we talked about, like dating, like I had a hard time dating people, like before I got into business with them. It works the same way with candidates.
Yeah.
Right. So I want to make sure that, we're actually doing a really good job of fully understanding this person. And the culture part is where I think a lot of entrepreneurs miss out on, because if you don't have a good culture fit, your business is going to suffer massively. And the cost of a bad hire, especially in sales, is easily in the mid 6 figures, sometimes in the mid 5 figures, low 6 figures. So if you do it wrong.
Oh, absolutely. It's expensive.
Yeah.
And it's interesting. The stuff you're talking about is I learned some of it, right, from the Recruit Select.
Mm-hmm.
So I went through the Keller Williams program.
I went through it 4 times.
Did you?
Yeah.
I never went through the second part. I went through Recruit Select. I never went through the second half.
Yeah. Train, lead, manage, RSTLM.
Yeah. But I remember because when they were recruiting me pretty heavily, they were like putting me on all these things. Like, hey,
Mhm.
check this out, check that out. That's how
Yeah.
cool Keller Williams is. The hot tip I think for everyone that's listening, you said something that I haven't heard anyone else say before, was the police and firefighter.
Oh, yeah.
The Avatar.
Yeah.
I think that's a big one.
You had Brandon Schwam on your show,
Mhm.
and he was one of my clients that I was working with, and it was his best acquisition guy. Mike was he was a cop, and I think in Massachusetts, I think outside of Boston for like 8 years.
Mhm.
And then he came to work for Brandon, and the guy crushed it. I mean, whenever I was working with him, he was easily making $350 a year, and that was after being in the business for 2 years.
Yeah.
2 years making $350 a year in acquisition commissions. I think this year when I talked to Brandon last, like he was on track to make $500,000.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
That's incredible. So that's a huge
Yeah.
nugget. The other one was a listening test. I've
Yeah.
heard that before.
Yeah. So it's I'm looking for like upper intermediate is like what the score is on that. It's 24 questions, and they actually have to listen to how somebody's talking. It's not even a native like English like US speaker, but that's why they do it, is like they want to listen for like the words that are being said, what's the context of it, were things taken out of context. So that way we can figure out, okay, how well are they actually listening?
Mhm.
Because like I said, acquisitions is 70% listening, 30% talking. And every time you're talking with a seller, you're trying to move them up that, the emotional pain ladder, if you will, to
Yeah.
try and get them moved into the direction of making a sale happen.
Yeah, no, that's huge. Absolutely huge. Because I think about like, some of the sales that we lose, like not sales we lose, the sales people we get frustrated was like, what was going through your brain
Yeah.
when you heard this?
Yeah. Well, the other thing too with acquisitions, I find a lot of times is people want to go straight for the solution without actually listening to what the real problem is.
Mhm.
Right? It's like, okay, well, there's an undercurrent that's happening a lot of times below what a seller is saying, and they're not reading between the lines in a lot of cases.
Mhm.
And so like that's really what we're trying to uncover, is like what's happening between the lines, because that's where the best deals are made, at least from
Yeah.
my experience.
Well, not just the best deals, but that's where the sales are made.
Yeah.
Right. The sales are made from the listening, not from the
Yeah.
talking.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Oh, so that's huge. Before we proceed, guys, big thanks to our sponsor, Beck CFO. Most business owners see taxes as their biggest expense, and for real estate entrepreneurs, it's usually 6 figures or more. Beck CFO helps clients cut that tax bill, keep more of their profits, and scale with confidence. If you want a proactive plan instead of just filling out paperwork, visit beckcfo.com and connect with my tax guys at Beck CFO today. That's BECCFO.com. So, and you mentioned them
Yeah.
earlier, like that was entirely unplanned. So let's talk about the mindset to go from hustler to business owner, because I think that for a lot of us, we're attracted to the hustle and the grind, and this is I've talked about this quite a bit when Paul Sparks and I were running a podcast together, Certainty Talks. Because we
Mhm.
get into this trap, like I'll hustle you, I'll grind you. I mean, I talked about earlier, right? With like
Yeah.
Jason Bedley, like I will outsuffer you. You have this mindset, and that mindset's great to get off the ground,
Mhm.
but not so great later on.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that from what you've seen.
Yeah, I mean, my coach Tom Kroll talks about it all the time. He's like, hustle is a season, not a lifestyle,
Yeah.
right? Eventually, as you start to get older, like your priorities change,
Mhm.
and it's like, you start having a family, you start having, kids and stuff like that. Your body starts just getting older. It's harder to do things, right? And to keep up with, those younger kids who can outwork you, outsuffer you, right?
Mhm.
Because they've just got the energy to do it.
And
It's
no
like,
responsibilities.
what's that?
And
No
no
responsibilities. Yeah, exactly. So eventually, like you're gonna have to work smarter, not harder, right? And so I think with and hustle culture is, I think, really damaging in a lot of ways. I'm a big proponent of like trying to find more balance in your life, and it's not all about the money all the time. Some people might disagree with me on that, but hey, I'm at a point in my life where I can say that, at
Mhm.
least for me. Um, so the mindset shift also comes down to, okay, I realize I can't be doing all this myself forever, right? If I do, I'm burning the candle at both ends. I'm going to burn out. So I have to figure out how I can bring other people into my organization that are going to help me get to that next level. And so really it's about leveling up your leadership game more than anything else, right? And being a good leader is being a good people person, good listener, good at just handling conflict resolution, and being forward thinking with how we're going to be handling certain things, trying to, plan ahead a little bit, thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of where the the puck is going to, I guess, if you want to, like Wayne Gretzky says.
Yeah.
So, that's kind of, it's hard to know when you get to that point. I think everybody kind of has to come to their own breaking point a little bit, to where it's like, okay, I'm getting tired of this. I need a change. It's once you kind of hit that breaking point, that's, okay, I need to level up my skills. And that's where going into these masterminds and looking and seeing what other people are doing, I think, is the first step to do.
Yeah. So tying this part up before we get to the last questions, talking about doubling your deal flow in 100 days or less.
Mm-hmm.
Really, the big thing it comes down to is just, whether with you or with someone else, it's, you got to figure out your finances.
Yeah.
Once you figure out your finances, now we got to start delegating effectively.
You have to know where you're spending your time.
Yeah.
Big time.
You have to know where your time's going, where you're spending your time.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know where you're spending your time, you can't reallocate.
I was going to say, you have to reallocate it on the highest, revenue generating activities.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And once you get that going, now you're in a position to hire an A-player closer. And with an A-player closer, it's really easy. You're probably going to need more than double your deals at that point.
I would agree. So, yeah, I just try to be kind of conservative, because I've seen people do a lot more than that in the span of 6 to 12 months. I mean, I've got one client who, when I started working with him, they were doing 4 or 5 deals a month pretty consistently. And then he brought on 2 acquisition agents, and now they're closing 16, 18 deals a month. I mean, really consistently. Yeah. It's pretty crazy, but but we did all the work ahead of time to make sure he had all the other pieces set up. So that way, when he dropped those A players into place, because they hit the ground running. I mean, they picked up the training super fast, because they had the right PI behavioral profile. They had the cognitive profile. They had the experience in sales. They're ready to go, right? And there's people out there that are like that. Treat your business like a business that's going to pay you like one, right? So it's just being strategic with what you're doing and thinking, taking time to actually stop, think, put a plan in place, and now go execute.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious when you look at it backwards, when you look at it from now to the past. It requires building the right foundation for the house.
Yeah.
Before you can build the house.
Yeah.
And a lot of times we're trying to build a house when the foundation hasn't been set
yet. Yeah. Like, I did all the wrong things
Me
at
too.
the very begining. It's like,
me too.
It's like, I wish people would just like learn from our mistakes and just like, go build the foundation right the first time. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think is the biggest piece of advice I can give.
Yeah. I built so many businesses. The only thing I actually did right from the beginning was actually doing the podcast. I actually had the right people from episode 1.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I think I've done right.
Was that Carlos Reyes, I think, or who was
No.
that?
I hired, like, from episode 1, I hired a studio that came with a producer, with a TV and everything. From the first episode, I was like, because at that point I'd read Who Not How. I've gone through Strategic Coach with Dan Sullivan. Right? Like, I learned these principles. I already paid for coaching with Darren Hardy and all that stuff. I was like, oh, so I'm going to do it. Like, I need the right people in place.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then, so there's Let's Grow COO. That's your company. And then if they want a closer, it's acquisitionreps.com.
Yep.
All right. Perfect.
They just got to go to disruptors.acquisitionreps.com, fill out the application there and then, if we think you're a good fit, then we'll book a call and get on and see if we can help you out.
Perfect. So then, moving on, we've talked a lot about operations and everything else, but for yourself personally, what do you want to be remembered for?
It's a really good question. I've struggled with that a lot for the longest time, and my wife used to make fun of me all the time. It's like, she's like, you still want that copter boat? Like, I always wanted a helicopter boat and a yacht and all that kind of stuff. Nowadays, it's just, I want to be remembered as somebody who was willing to give more than I took, and that I made the world a better place than the way I left it, ultimately. And that starts with my family and my kids more than anything else. I mean, they're at an age too right now where they're like in their most formative years. And so, like, I'm just trying to make sure I'm not raising jerks, and and I'm really proud of where they've come so far to this point. Because if I can, raise my kids in the right way, then they can have positive impacts on their little friends and, and the other people in their lives and grow up to be good adults. And like, that's what makes the world go round. So that's my legacy I hope I leave.
Gotcha. What is your biggest struggle today?
Marketing. I
Really?
am not a marketer. I hate marketing. So that's why I try to go on podcasts like this and try to put myself out there. I'm also a huge introvert. So it's like putting myself out there on social media. So I'm looking for a marketing person right now if anybody is looking for a job. So yeah,
I can connect you.
Oh man, please.
Oh yeah, I'm in a marketing mastermind. So
Yeah.
like the guy that sends all those emails, coordinates
Nice.
all of that.
Yeah.
I hired him from a mastermind that I'm in.
Okay.
And
Nice.
it's interesting because like we've all been burned by marketing agencies over and over
Yeah.
and over again, right? And every time it happens, the reason why that happens is because you're hiring a guy who is a little big in his britches, a little bit further along, will
Mhm.
take your money, and then he's just gonna use like VAs.
Yeah.
But this group that I'm in, it's very fascinating. They're really good at what they do, but they don't have a high self-image.
Mm.
So they're like, I referred a couple of people out, like the rates that they charge, like you guys can charge a lot more. You can charge a lot more than that.
Usually the best people are like that. Yeah.
And they're really good. So
Yeah.
if you need that, I got
Oh man, I appreciate
that
that.
problem
Yeah.
solved for you.
Thank you.
What is your superpower?
My superpower is being able to look at things from a 30,000 foot view and really be able to take it down to the tactical in the trenches level and really pick it apart and figure out, okay, what's working, what's not, how do we fix it, how do we move forward in the right direction?
Yeah. So you already knew the answer to that one.
Yeah.
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 Which kind of goes along with strategist.
Yeah.
What is the biggest lesson or biggest failure or situation that came along where you learned the biggest lesson from?
I think it's going to go back to my time in the Corps of Cadets whenever I thought I was hot shit. And I was just not a humble person at all. Like I was an asshole back in the day, man. Like when I was younger.
I can't picture that version.
No.
This is the version I know.
Yeah, I know. But I was not a nice person to be around. But I think getting a real big dose of humble pie really helped me understand that. I mean, it goes back to what we were saying before. It's like everybody puts their pants on the same way every morning. I don't care if you're a billionaire or a janitor. I'm gonna treat you the same regardless. I don't get that. I don't get starry-eyed when I meet celebrities or anything like that. It's just like you're just a normal person. Prove to me who you can be. Are you a good person or a bad person? We're gonna find out pretty quick.
You know where I had my biggest humbling moment? So I went to, like, I grew up here. Literally, my office is like a couple miles from high school.
Really?
Right. So I grew up here, and I did pretty well at
Yeah.
school. Bunch of smart kids, actually. Bunch of smart kids. Like, went to go, like, if you look back at my class, it's kind of crazy, like all the things they went off to go do.
Yeah.
My high school class, right? Then I go to ASU,
Yeah.
and easily like one of the most intelligent people at ASU, right? Because it's party school. So like I did well there, and then I got to graduate school. Like I did good enough at ASU to get a full ride. They actually paid me to go to graduate school.
Oh wow.
Right. So I went to UC San Diego, and not only did I get a full ride, but they actually paid me to go there.
Yeah.
And I go there, and I didn't know this at the time, but like to go into an American graduate school, you got to be the best of the best from your country. So I'm competing against the smartest people from India,
Oh wow.
Taiwan, Korea, China, Sweden. There's Nigeria, and I know I'm missing a couple other countries.
Yeah.
Man, to go like hot
Yeah.
stuff at Arizona State University, which I know it
Yeah.
doesn't mean a lot, but
Yeah, but when you travel the world, like I'm sure you've been overseas, like you see like it's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
And like people really try super hard over there, to get to this level.
to get to the U.S.,
Yeah.
you've got to basically sacrifice everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, like
Yeah.
I went to that program. I was like, holy crap! Like I thought I was smart, but I am nowhere. I'm not. I'm probably like bottom 20%, right? In graduate school. Fortunately, I made it through and did well. But man, like I didn't have to work hard at ASU.
Mm-hmm.
I went crazy at UC San Diego.
Yeah.
What book have you gifted more than any other?
Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. I think it's by far like the most impactful thing. And I heard about it first from Dan Schwartz. Huge shout out to Dan when he's no longer running the 80/20 mastermind, but he was the founder of that and Investor Fuse as well. But that book, I mean, right there alone changed my entire mindset on how to run a business and how to value my time. Because I think that's the other thing too, is like money's one thing, but it only buys you, it doesn't buy you happiness, but it buys you a whole bunch of other cool things. But if you don't have the time to spend it, what's the point, you know? So that's the book I've given out a lot.
So he was supposed to be on this podcast.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he came out here, but there was a scheduling kind of snafu. Because like, I don't run a 30-minute podcast.
No.
Right? And so they came out, and it's like, yeah, like we're here for the podcast. It's like, well, we got to leave in 30 minutes. Like, no, that's not going to
Yeah, that ain't happening.
Right? Like with your story, it's probably like a 2-hour plus podcast.
Oh, easily. Probably 4.
Yeah. So I was like, look.
He's got a crazy story.
Yeah. So I was like, I can't in good faith do this because like I'm going to ask you one question and then we're going to have like 7 follow-up questions and then we're done with the episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, we rescheduled. I don't know when we're going to have it, but that was.
Man, I hope you can get him on.
Yeah.
That'd be fantastic. Yeah. He's been a huge, huge life changer for me.
Well, right now we're going through his book, Software as a Science.
I haven't read that one yet.
And so we finished that book. And my conclusion after finishing that book is that I have fallen significantly short of the bar.
Oh, man.
So I took that book and I sent it to my leadership team. I was like, we need to hire a person and this book is their job description.
Wow, really?
Yes, that's where we're at. So like we're going to
now you're making me think I'm like way behind this.
Yeah, so we're going to hire an employee. We're going to make that book be their job description. And then we're going to put them through Dan's SaaS Academy. Like we got to level up where we're at because like I thought we were good stuff, and like I think there's 13 or 11 chapters in that book, and in 11 chapters there's 11 different high level action items. There's 11 quarterly rocks in there for us to execute.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I listen to his podcast at least once or twice a week, and I'm like blown away at all this, like how fast they're implementing things with AI right now. And I'm just like. Yeah. If you're not doing that kind of stuff that they're talking about in his books and things like that, you're going to get left behind. And it's crazy.
Well, we bought DGX Spark.
I did. Yeah. I'm excited about that.
So our goal is to be able to buy a house by the middle of next year.
So do you really think, okay, let me ask you this. Do you think that AI is going to replace salespeople?
100%.
When?
Middle of next year.
Middle of next year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Well, then I guess acquisitionreps.com is going to be out of a job then at that point.
Well, not quite.
Okay.
Not quite. So I think face-to-face, you're safe.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? Belly-to-belly, face-to-face, I think you're safe.
It's interesting. I'm finding a lot more teams are going back to the in-person model. It's like things swung so far. Like the pendulum was like all virtual, especially when we had COVID. And then it's like everybody wanted to go, kind of like,
listen, I've always been a very big advocate for face-to-face.
Yeah.
Right?
Me too.
But, if you want to do virtual, that's fine.
Yeah.
I think my clients are going to
wipe the
clean
floor
up in 2026.
Yeah. Seriously.
And I don't need to make any money from it.
Yeah.
I just need to prove that it works.
Yeah.
Like for me, right? Because that's $1 billion company.
Yeah.
Right.
Man, if there's a way you could find a way just to get even like 1% of every deal that was done with your AI, man, that'd be.
I'm going smaller.
Huge.
I just want a nickel for every minute someone uses my service.
Okay. All right.
Nickel. Because like if you look right now, right? Like ChatGPT gets a nickel for every minute someone uses voice.
Yeah.
I just want to be that nickel.
Yeah.
With that nickel.
Keep it up. It's going to be $1 billion company in no time. I can tell. So.
That's the vision.
Yeah.
So
it's huge.
Guys, if you get value out of this episode, please make sure you subscribe. Comment below. I read each and every single one of these comments. And we want to create more millionaires. And so the best way for us to reach more people is if you can help me engage so we can reach more people. What are some last thoughts you want to leave all the listeners with?
Last thoughts. Adapt. Be adaptable. Don't be afraid to ask for help. I think those are the biggest ones. There's a lot of people going through a lot of really hard times right now.
Yeah.
Don't let your ego get in the way of, just and don't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? I mean, just be vulnerable. And I think you'll find a lot of doors will start to open for you when you do that. So a lot of people are willing to help.
Let me double down on that. I appreciate you saying that because not a lot of people say that. For you guys that are watching, like if you guys are going through hard times, like be vulnerable. If you're in a mastermind, share that in a mastermind. I've seen it countless times.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with this, and like everyone comes to your help. Right? If you're in a mastermind, and if you're in a tribe, if you're in a community, maybe not your friends and family, maybe not that, because they don't have as much sympathy for the struggles we go through as an entrepreneur. But your friends that are alongside with you on this journey, like be open, because the connections you make, like I've seen it. I'm not gonna name any names, but I've seen countless times over and over again, just in a Facebook group. Hey guys, here's what I'm dealing with. I don't know what to do next. Yeah. And you get this outpouring of support. Yeah. Right. Like, everyone, like it's American tradition. We love the underdog. We want to help the underdog. That guy that's hot stuff, that's you. Yeah, that was me. Everyone wants to throw rocks at that guy. Yeah. Exactly. They want to throw rocks at the guy that's doing really well. Yeah. But the guy that's like, hey, I'm hurting right now. Yeah. People want to help you. Oh, 100%. So I appreciate you sharing that message because that message does not go out nearly enough. Yeah. Yeah. So perfect. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Shout out to Steve Trang. Jump on the Steve Trang. Disruptors.